all that you know today is all that they know. They're just better at getting it out there, guys. Okay? And if you're not spending time learning about the PRDS contracts and the CAR contracts, and by the way, if you haven't seen the new CAR contract, you need to be familiar with it. You know, we added 2 pages, and it's just unbelievable, the different changes. And it's good changes, guys. You need to be an expert in it. You need to develop your Facebook. You need to develop your Twitter. You need to develop this third-party validation, so when they go online and you do all of this work to build your farm and you finally get an appointment, you can say, hey, this is who I am. Okay? And I'm going to suggest as you do a farm, you're going to be laser pointed in that farm. The day of taking 5,000 homes and trying to market 5,000 homes doesn't pay. Okay? You want to grow into 5,000 homes, because anything worth doing is doing well. And one of the things that I want to talk about is how do we choose a farm? How do we choose a neighborhood? How do we choose the right place to go? And it depends on what your goal is. If you look at it as a database, you take my parents' neighborhood, they live in Los Gatos, they have a 2% turnover rate in their neighborhood. And if you're going to farm there, they have about 250 homes, and you get 2%, there's 6, and if you're a really good farmer, you're going to get 20% of that deal, so that means that gives you 2 to live on. So maybe it's not such a good place, unless you're building it as a database and you're wanting to meet those people and get to the 100 people that they know that they will recommend you to. And farming is not a short-term process. Okay? You have to do it of some kind, whether it's a geographical farm. But the good farmers, the best farmer I ever saw was a little lady named Marge Sprecher. And Marge was the Avon lady in her neighborhood before she got into real estate. And we were all in Campbell. We were all red carpet at that time in the 80s. And we all had our red jackets and that type of thing. And Marge was proof that you don't have to know anything about real estate, but you can dominate a neighborhood. You know why? They liked her. And she built relationships. And she would knock the doors, and everybody loved Marge. Every time she got a contract, she came into me and said, now what? Every time. and we go, Marge, we do this every single time. And she says, yeah, but I just meet people. Okay? And what we miss in our industry is that face-to-face, belly-to-belly. If you spend all of your life on your computer and you never go talk to people, you're not going to do well, because we use it as a crutch instead of as a support tool. Okay? And you need to have things like Reach 150 that have all of your, if you don't have a place like Yelp or Reach 150, that is something that you can put your client recommendations in, that you can point your clients to and say, look what other people have said. You know, I was talking with an agent about farming this week, and he's an Eichler guy. And if most of you know what an Eichler is, it's a cult. Okay. You either like them or you don't, typically. There's not much middle ground, right? And he lives in one, and he loves them. So the natural place for him to go and prospect is in Eichler's. And the reason he wasn't doing good in his marketing to him is he didn't have a landing page that had Eichler's on it. It didn't have a landing page that had the different pieces to an Eichler and the different things that need to go into, because they're unique, right? And you have the heating and the floor and their modern floor plans. And if you push too hard on a wall, it might fall over. You know, I'm kidding, but but he's laser specific in what he's doing, and he's going after just Eichler's, or you're going after just Brentwood homes, or you're going just after Communication Hill, or you're going after Hallmark homes in Cambrian, or you're going after Morrison homes in Almaden Valley, or you're going after specific neighborhoods. I was talking with Terry Larkin, who happens to be here. Thank you, Terry. And a number of people like Jill, who's here to support me, which is wonderful too. I didn't miss any title reps that are here. They have programs. And it's absolutely imperative that if you're going to be a farmer, that you sit down with your title rep and figure out what percentage of houses are turning over. Because you have two goals, okay? If you pick a neighborhood that's only 2% turning over, you probably aren't going to make a lot of money in the farm. You're going to have to make that farm into a people farm, and you're going to have to tap their databases and the people that they know. If you get a farm that's over 10% and you have 500, that means you got 50 homes. If you're getting 10 to 20% of those, you're probably making a living to start with. And you still do the geographical things by getting to the people and building the database and that type of thing. But you should pick a farm that has at least a 10% turnover rate. And the programs today will tell you whether or not you have 15% or 20%. I mean, there's a lot of neighborhoods that are really turning over. And you should pick neighborhoods that are moving. Because if you're going to go knock the doors, and we're going to talk about knocking the doors here in a minute and how you do that, if you don't pick a neighborhood that is turning over and you're not working the people, you know, because it's long term to build relationship. If you're going to be in the industry this year, you know, last 5 years, toughest market we've ever been in, right? No. You knew who needed to move. The people who are underwater, man, the people who were overfinanced, the people who were behind in their payments. You had a defined group, and all you had to do is go talk to them and say, you got to move, you got to sell. Yes, we can get it done. We're the heroes. And if you work short sales, you made a living. Okay? It was really defined. What's happening in our market today is everybody's a target. Okay? Because everybody now has equity again. They don't know where they're going to move. Okay? Because of the lack of inventory. But it's not targeted now. If you needed to get a listing in the last 5 years and they were upside down or behind in their payments, they were a candidate. And you could go talk to them. You could define it down to a very small group of people and go talk to those people. And the people who did that did a lot of business. Okay? In this market, we have a lack of inventory. We have 500 and just under 600 single-family listings, 163 condos. We're 36% below where we were last year. And we were 22% below where we were the year before. Smallest inventory we ever had. If you're going to work with buyers, you're going to be sorely disappointed because you're going to be frustrated all year long. We wrote an offer on a property, $400,000 above the list price, non-contingent, and we lost last week in Saratoga. It went for almost $600,000 over. Bad agent. Should have never listed it where he listed it before. Okay, and learning to price properties and giving proper advice on what to list the property at. And I asked the gentleman, "Why'd you list it so low?" He says, "Well, because in my next marketing, I'm going to say I got 400,000 above the list or 500,000 above the list. Look at me," and I'm looking at stupid agent. Okay, he should have listed it at 2.4 or 2.5 to start with, and he might have gotten 2.6, 2.7. Okay, because the market is hot. If you're going to work with sellers today, and we're going to talk about that, and because if you're here to work farms, who are you here to work? Sellers. Sellers, right. And listers last. Okay, all my career I've done listings, and it's listings, listings, listings. I maybe do 3, 4, 5 buyers a year max. Okay, and we have a couple of them in that $2 million price range right now, driving me nuts. Okay, and because it's competitive, and so what we need to do is find properties that we can put on the market that sell and convince people that they're going to be able to buy in the spring. Make sense? I mean, because we're going to get more inventory then. But in the last 2 years, where was all the free money in the market came? In the first 2 quarters. Because there isn't any inventory. We have historic low interest rates. When can you get 3%, 3 3/4, 3.5? I mean, it's just unbelievable. You're getting jumbo under 4. I mean, it's free money. And as a real estate agent, we need to be telling the world, now's the time to buy. Well, they're so high, they've gone up. Well, get used to it. They're going to go up. You know, I've been through 3 cycles. They're going to go down. If you have a long-term vision, it's going to go up and you're going to be fine. Okay, people say, are we going to go through another bubble? Maybe. Every 5 to 7 years, we go through a cycle. Happens. It happened in 89, happened in 2000, happened in 2007. And it happens, okay? We woke up in 89. We didn't sell a property, June of 89, by the way. We didn't sell a property for 6 months in the Santa Clara Valley because we had an earthquake and we had all kinds of different things. And, you know, I had a the only time I ever got sued, by the way, I was a listing agent on a property, and I had 10 offers on it, took the highest one, appraised, closed. 91, he couldn't sell it for what he bought it for. Duh. And the buyer's agent didn't get sued. He thought it was my fault because he was the 10th offer and we accepted him. I ended up winning that one, by the way. But cycles happen, okay? And if you build a good database, and I'm going to get right into the topic of farming, if you build a good database through your farm or through your people, you know, you won't have slow times, okay? And what happens in our industry is you don't treat your farm as a database. You don't treat your groups of the people, whether it's at church or whether it's in Kiwanis, whether it's in Rotary, you know, it doesn't matter what it is, okay? You don't treat them as a database. You don't treat them as an asset, okay? And they will send you good business in good times. They will send you tough business in bad times. We did a lot of short sales. We ran 100+ short sales through my organization during that period of time. And we were doing short sales because our client bases knew people who were in trouble. And what happens today? Our client bases know people who are not in trouble, okay? Who need to sell, who need to move. So if you take the time to be serious about your farm, and we're going to talk about what it takes to get there and dominate and be the number one and compete against the big names in your farm, because there's big names everywhere. If you really looked at their production, they're probably not doing as much as you think they are. And they're not quite as strong as you think they are. But they're strong outside of their farms because they're good in their farms, and their farms send the people outside of their farms. Does that make sense? Okay. So when you start to build a farm, what is it? It's a database. Period. Your farm is a database. Okay? And so, what do you need to know about this farm? You need to know who's in it. Okay? You need to know their age. You need to know their ethnicity. You need to know their education. You need to know how many are owners. You need to know how many are non-owners. You need to know how many renter people that you need to be talking to. Okay, are they all over 50s? In my parents' neighborhood, they're probably 70 or 80% over 70s. Okay, yeah, because they die in their homes. They never move, you know, and the turnover isn't very big. They've owned their home for 50 years, and where are they going to move, right? And you know, they have $150 a month taxes. You know, it's just unbelievable. But who's in that farm? Are they move-up buyers? Okay? Are they move-down buyers? Are they first-time buyers that become move-up buyers? Are they what's the demographic? Are they Google people? Is it one of the new townhome complexes around the 49er Stadium, or Google, or Intel, or what's the demographic of the person that's living there? Because it'll help you develop the marketing tools. When you're looking at who they work for, what they work for, are they likely to be the next person who gets stock options? Okay. Are they engineers? Are they salespeople? Are they divorced? You know, single women are becoming the largest purchasers of homes in our Silicon Valley. Why? Because of divorce, they get everything, right? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You know, I was talking with a gentleman earlier today, and he says, you know, instead of getting married, I'm just going to buy our house and not do, no. But it's, but not only true in our millennials in our 30s and 40s, it's true in our aging society. Okay. And if you don't know about seniors, you need to know about seniors, because we have the fastest growing population in our society is the aging over 50, which and so choose who you deal with. When I was 24 in the business, if you were 30s and 40s, I didn't even talk to you because you thought you were too good for me. Now, if you were my parents' age, in the 50s, you loved me because I looked like your son, you know? And if you were my peer, you wanted to deal with me, okay? And then as I got into my 30s and 40s, you know, I didn't deal so well with the younger people. I was dealing with people that were my peers and older again. And one of my best places is older people. And I relate to older people. I do a lot of music. I sang for 20 plus funerals last year, okay? And they're people I've known all my life, right? And so I deal with older people well. I led a choir for 12 years. My youngest in the choir was 72, okay? And it was out at the villages. I work with older people well, and I know that I do. And so I target older people. Maybe you work with younger people well. Maybe you work with certain groups of people well. Maybe you speak a certain language that helps you do it. We've got such a diverse community. You need to define the farm that you are comfortable working in. And if you're going into, I'm a West Side boy. I grew up in East Los Gatos, right? I would not feel good on McGoffin knocking on the doors at night or on the weekends, because it doesn't fit who I am. I'm going to show up and they're going to go, oh, who are you? Okay? And it doesn't fit. You need to focus on look at your client base. Okay? Who have you closed the most transactions with? What's their demographic? Who do I work with well? And go after them. Okay, because it's important that you define this group that you can relate with, because building a farm has to do everything with relating with the people you're talking to. And if you're picking a farm that you don't relate or can't fit into, you can't cross the barriers, and I know we're supposed to be colorblind and blah, 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 but the reality is, if you relate to certain groups of people really well, work on those people. They'll make you money. And, you know, one of the things that people, you know, when I first got into business, what'd they say? They said, he who talks to the most people wins. It's a lie, okay? He who talks to the most people that have the ability to say yes wins, okay? And if you're working with people that don't have the ability to say yes, or send you somebody who can say yes, stop working with them, okay? One of the things when I got into the business, and we're going to talk about, you know, we talk about demographics, is I used to go out to the airport because I was brand new in the business. And I'd stand at the turnstile where the luggage was coming in. And I'd go, how was the trip? That was good, you know, yeah, you know, and it said Seattle. You know, yeah, you know, how was Seattle this year? You know, I stopped there and on my way through, blah, 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 blah. By the way, my name's Don. Yeah, what do you do here in San Jose? Oh, we're here for this, you know. And then what did they ask you? Well, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a real estate guy. And I'd hand them a business card. Why? Because I didn't know anybody. Okay? And one of the things that we're going to miss in your farm is knocking the doors. Okay? You got to meet the people. And so let's talk about how we dominate that farm. What are the 8 or 9 things that you need to do to dominate a farm? Because you have a block of homes. By the way, this is as pretty as it gets. Okay? And you have a block of homes. And let's say you've never farmed at all, you're just getting back into it, or you're not doing as well as you'd like. Okay? And we want to dominate this farm in 6 weeks. We want to dominate this farm in 6 months. We want to dominate this farm in a year and have everybody knowing us, right? And what happens is you needed to establish what kind of budget that you want to spend in your farm. is the very first thing. Am I going to spend $1,000, $2,000, 10% of my income? What's the budget? Because in business, if we don't know how much we're going to spend and we don't know how we're going to invest, we don't know what the return on that investment is going to be. And if you don't count the return on the investment in your farm and in your database, then you'll go broke because you'll spend too much money. And it doesn't have to be a lot of money. And there's a guy named Vic in my neighborhood. He's been in the business for a long, long time. He puts out the cheesiest, ugliest piece of paper I've ever seen for a farm, but he lists a bunch of property. And it's run on a copy machine, and it's not even, half the time it's black and white, okay? But he's consistent, and he's been consistent for years and years and years and years and years and years. So what happens is sometimes we stress over what we're going to give to our farms. And what I'm going to tell you is it really doesn't matter. You want to be as professional as you can, absolutely. You can get more professional as you get more money, okay? But doing something is more important than getting ready to do something, okay? And you need to get something into that farm every week for 2 months. Just starting off. Every week for 2 months. Just basic information. It has to be about title. It has to be about something in the neighborhood. It has to, and you're starting off brand new farm. You've picked it. It has the right turnover. It has the right makeup. You're comfortable with it. Blah, 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 blah. For the first 2 months, every single week. Because what? It takes 7 times is what they tell you to see your face and your name to recognize who you are. Okay? The next week, you're going to be doing, you're going to go to every 2 weeks. Okay? And then you're going to go later on down the road to monthly. That's the base. Okay? If you're going to break in. Then, what happens in a neighborhood? Do you know your neighborhood? So you've laid the groundwork for the first 6 months. You're going to do something every week, 2 months. You're going to do something every other week for the next 2 to 3 months, and then you're going to do something once a month after that. 6 months, okay? Base. And whatever the base is, it doesn't matter. You can go to your favorite title company. They have flyers. They have newsletters. They have title information. They have whatever it is, okay? And so you're laying the groundwork, and it has your picture on it. It has your name on it. It has your phone number on it. It has your email on it. If you're doing Morrison Homes, maybe you should also have a landing page that says Morrison Homes on it. If it's a Hallmark home, if it's a Hacienda Gardens home, if it's a communication skill, it should say something about the neighborhood on the piece that you're sending out. Why? It tells them that you're the expert in the neighborhood, and they'll pick it up and read it if it has to do with their neighborhood, or it has to do with something about their properties. And that's the base. Okay, you want to dominate? This is the key to domination. Okay, you're doing the base, you're doing all of this stuff. You went to Jill, or you went to Terry, and you went to Rebo Gateway, or whatever it's called, and you downloaded all of the names, and you have Palm Agent on your thing so you can be searching the properties as you're going through. Who in the room's a farmer that has a magnet on their car? We used to have them, red carpet, with your big name on it and your phone number. The problem with farmers is they're secret agents. Okay? Every time you drive through your neighborhood, I'm going to suggest that you drive through that neighborhood twice a day, one on your way to work and one on your way home. And have car magnet signs all over your car. Big ones, not little tiny ones. Ones that fill up the whole panel. Okay? Why? People need to see you in the neighborhood and need to see you active in the neighborhood. If you want to take them off after you leave the neighborhood, take them off. I don't care if you're ashamed of being an agent. But I suggest putting magnet signs on and drive slowly through the neighborhood. Okay? So everybody sees who you are. Because if they're not identifying you with your paper that you're putting on all the doors, or if you're doing it by mail if you have the money, if you're not knocking the doors to do it. But there are more important doors to knock. Okay, you put out the base, you got your magnet signs, and what's happening in this neighborhood? There's a listing here, there's a listing here, there's a listing down here. Okay, have you been in all of the listings? Do you know all of the pendings? Do you know that the yellow house on the corner sold for $700,000, and yes, they did do termite work, or they didn't do termite work, or what the properties? Are you really the expert in this? Have you met the seller in the evening while they're there? Okay, and toured the property? Because then do you a good tour of the property and leave a business card with everybody else if it's your farm. You want to meet the people, whether or not it's your listing. Okay? And I'm going to be a little controversial here, because I'm going to suggest that if you want to be the expert and you want to dominate this thing in 6 months or less, that every time that there's a listing in the market, whether it's yours or not, that one, you're going to tour it, but before the listing agent gets out there, you're going to go 10, 10, and 20, because what we know in the industry is that in the next 30 to 90 days, there's going to be a listing in that neighborhood at an eye shot, almost every single time. Go home, look down the street. If you can see a sign, you'll see another one in the next 30 to 90 days. Okay? And if you want to be a listing agent, you need to beat the listing agent out to these neighborhoods and saying, hey, you're not saying it's yours. Never represent a property as yours. Okay? We can't do that, not legally. We got a new property on the market. We're looking for buyers. Who do you want to move into the neighborhood? And you pass them out to these. Now, if you're really good, maybe you do 40, 20, and 20. Okay? But at least 10, 10, and 20 in your neighborhood. And what happens is you start doing this one, and then you start doing this one, and it overlaps, and you start doing this one. And when it goes pending, what are you doing?
They're not pending.
Yeah, you're going back out to the same 10, 10, and 20, right? And you're saying, not this time that it's a new listing, we're looking for buyers. We have a property that just sold. We need more inventory. We got the lowest inventory we have. Have you thought about making a move? And you go to the same property. It's not your listing. You're not saying it's mine. It's just off the market. We need new people. We have extra buyers. We have people that need to buy homes in this neighborhood. Have you thought about making a move? And you do it before the listing agent does it, because he's not going to do it. It's amazing how few listing agents actually go out and market around their listings. The problem with them selling in one day is you don't get the opportunity to advertise yourself. Nothing would be better for our industry is to have property sitting on the market for a month. And you can hold open houses, and you put out all the pieces of paper, and you can go knock all the doors and meet the neighbors. And what's the goal for here to here to here?
Excuse me, isn't that a permanent market? The one that they're using?
It says erasable.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
I hope so. If it's not, I'll buy them a new one. Okay. But the key, though, is you're looking, you need to become listing agents because you're farmers. You're looking for the next property, right? That feeds you. If you have 500 homes, it's turning over at 20%. There's 100 homes, you're getting 20 of those. If it's turning over at 10%, you're getting 10% of those, you're getting 5. 5 will make you a living. 5 will make you somewhere between 50 and 100,000, depending on the price range. That's not bad, okay? But the database, where this person's sending you one here and sending you one here, we'll talk about that in a minute. But what's the most important thing here is not the new listing. The most important thing is every time you do one, you're adding 3 to 5 people that you know and love, and that love you made a good connection with, and you're adding them to the special database, and we're going to talk about 3 of those in a second, okay? And you're adding them to the special database that you like people, and they're in the like people address, okay? And one of the things that I was taught early is you don't want to deal with the nasty people in the world. It doesn't mean you don't deal with difficult people, because a lot of sellers are hard, but if they're just nasty, let your competitor deal with them. Because you know what nasty will send you? Nasty. Okay, you know what nice people will send you? Nice. And you want to be dealing with nice people. You have to establish yourself as the professional. okay? And you have to establish yourself and set the bar so high that they want to deal with you. And then when they go, no, 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 we want to hear, because they want to hear, right? Everybody wants to hear. And if they've told you, no, we haven't chosen somebody, then I'll go forward. If they said, no, we've made a decision, well, then they don't get my stuff. And they don't get my knowledge. And they don't get the things because we work 24/7 here. And you ought to be working with people who want to work with you. Okay? Now, you might need to earn that trust. This is kind of off the subject. You want to be first or last? Well, I always want to be first. SCCAOR statistically says 66% of the people list with the first person. 66% of the people list with the very first person in the door. Why would you want to be anything but first? And by the way, you know, if you have an appointment with another agent, I'll be happy to call them and let them know that they'll no longer be needing to keep that appointment. Okay. What do you do? Okay, and this is off subject too. I'm going to go right back to it in a second. You set the bar so high at that first appointment that anybody who comes in behind you cannot possibly live up to it. Okay? You come in after me, the seller is going to be asking, well, why didn't you do agency first and lead-based paint and the things that are legal and the order, and why didn't you talk to me about the notice that you have to put on my door that says if you get hurt on my property, I don't sue you. I can't sue you. Or, you know, and I talk about where they're going. I just got done, I got a referral. It's all about integrity, folks. And it's all about, if they know that you care for them and it's about integrity, they'll send you people. I just turned down $1.5 million in purchase price and told people they shouldn't buy. Boy, that seems counterproductive, doesn't it? No. They live in Los Altos, own a $3 million home. All of their neighbors own $3 million homes. And the agent who sent me this person from Sacramento, as a referral to me, said, they got to do 1031 exchanges. Selling 7 properties in Sacramento for $200,000 a piece. I said, great, I'll send you a 25% referral fee, right? And I met with them. And we analyzed what they were doing. And I said, now, before you do anything, you need to go talk to your accountant and go get me tax returns so we can see what your bases are. And he ended up only having 2 properties that he needed to do a 1031 exchange with instead of 7, okay? And he had such a loss that he could offset the gains, and they're all paid off, free and clear. And then we got talking about it, and I got analyzing it in the second meeting and that type of thing, and we went out and showed them properties and what they could be buying, and we're talking in the car. And it became apparent to me that they're in their mid-60s. They don't need to be buying rental property. They had a $50,000 tax gain on a $1.7 million gain, okay? And at that point, they had $1.4 million on their, they have, right now, this is 2 weeks ago, they have $1.4 million on their house. I said, you got a house in Los Altos, it's going up $200,000 to $300,000 a year. Why don't you invest in your mortgage, drop your mortgage by $4,500 a month? I'm not going to get you that kind of income off the properties at net after we're done, and go enjoy life. And she goes, wow, I could have my kitchen. Wow, I could get the furniture that I've always wanted. And the $300,000 that I would have, you know, maybe gotten them in appreciation and that type of thing on the other houses, they're going to get in their property in Los Altos, so why not invest in them and give them the real reason for living and moving on? And helping them make good decisions. They had a tax attorney, they had an accountant, they had another real estate agent that didn't even figure out what their life was about. Do you think they're going to send you people? About database, about being honest with people, helping them get to where they want to be. What happens when it closes?
Referral.
You go knock the door. You know, we close, we're looking for more property. And what are you looking to do? You're looking to add 3 to 5 people to this middle database, people you like, okay? And if you did this with every house in that neighborhood, I guarantee you in 30, 60, 90 days, you'd start to pick up listings because nobody's doing it, okay? Let's say you don't want to be a farmer. You want to use the same technique? Every single day, find a house and go to 10, 10, and 20, and in 30, 60, 90 days, you'll start to get listings. You don't even have to farm. You just start adding 3 to 5 people that you like and they like you, and you're looking for the next person. Immediate income. Nothing works better than this. We know statistically for 30 years that something in eye shot of this property is going to come available. Want to build a business, you want to build a farm, you will quickly become the expert. Why? Because they see you, they see you, they see you, they see you, they see you. You're driving through the neighborhood, you have these big magnet signs on. They're getting something from you every 2 weeks, every month, and they know who you are. The only thing that would be better is if you papered everybody. I'm just asking you to do 40.
What about postcard? Let it know.
Okay. The more money you make, the more elaborate you can get. Okay? If you're going to do postcards, okay, don't make them the same size as letters. Okay? Make them bigger, make them smaller, make them odd shape, make them, so it sticks out, So when they're getting their mail, it's like this. And they have to at least look at it before they round file it, okay? And make sure it has your picture on it, front and back, okay? Because regardless of the side, you want them to see your face and your name, face and name, and, because that's what they're going to do with it. Postcards are an excellent alternative. If you don't have any money, though, and a lot of us are restricted in money, go to your copy machine, get your broker's permission, okay? And, offer to pay the 0.5% or whatever it costs him to run you 500. Run 500 on the copy machine, okay? And go out and pass them out, okay? Because we fret over what we're handing out, and we never get out in front of the people, okay? Postcards are wonderful. If you can afford to do mail, absolutely. Use Corfac. They have the absolutely best farming tools you can ever imagine, with little codes. They can go in and get them. They give you emails. By the way, if you're not using a CRM,
What did you say,
Corfac,
Corfac?
there are reps. There are other companies that do it. They have postcards, and they'll send them out for you. And if you can afford to do those types of things, the higher quality it is, the better it is. But it's not necessary to make money. Okay, I drive a Lexus, right? And I drive a Ford Explorer. They're not new. My agents drive nicer cars than I do. I do more business than they do, okay? And don't feel like you have to go out and buy the $100,000 car as long as it's clean and it's presentable and people are comfortable in it. I sold more houses in a Burgundy Honda Accord, four-door, than almost any other car I've ever had. It was the real estate car, man. Everybody had a Honda Accord back in the day, right? And they weren't expensive. So don't get caught up, and don't think that you have to have, we got nice suits and that type of thing. You don't have to wear an Armani. You don't have to have a Rolex. You don't have to, they want to know that you're professional, clean, and competent, okay? And so don't get caught up in overextending until you can afford it, okay? And if it's your desire to own an $80,000 car, well, go buy one, okay? But it's not necessary to do real estate. Our Lexus has 70,000 miles on it, okay? And it's a nice car. It's clean, but it's not brand new. I don't have any payments. I'm very happy, And if you go broke trying to make it, then you've lost. So don't overextend. It's important. But out of anything that you can do on a farm, okay, you start to look at this piece and getting to know and getting immediate business in the next 30, 60, 90 days, because what's happening today is you're getting people that are moving into the market that don't know anything about it. Okay, they're brand new coming back in groves. And what happens is they're gonna get in, and they're gonna do mom and dad and their uncle, and then they're gonna find out that they can't do real estate. Okay, and what we know about millennials and the things is they usually interview two people: somebody that's recommended to them, database, or somebody that mommy and daddy used. Okay, and it's one of those things that it's still a referral business, guys. And your farm is the referral business, okay? And what you need to do is build the relationship within the farm to get the next listing. But that's not even where the gold is. That's what feeds you. That's what gives you immediate business. That's what allows you to list things and have a good life and have people knocking down your door to get them, okay? Have a couple open houses. The minute you get one Everybody in that neighborhood ought to be seeing you. I mean, you ought to be knocking every door. You ought to be holding open houses in the weekends, in the evenings, I mean, they got to see you because they want to see that you're doing more than the average person. Okay? Where's the gold? Okay? The gold is in this person that's lived there for 30 years that has 100 people that they know. Okay? And this person over here that you've added to the People I Like database. Okay? And they know somebody in Sunnyvale. They know somebody in Los Altos. They know somebody in Cambrian. Okay? They know somebody somewhere else in San Jose that's not in your farm. And the goal here is to get 500 people that you like in your database. 10% will send you one, so you're going to do somewhere between 30 and 50 deals a year. But that shouldn't be your first goal. Okay, because Mike Ferry and Buffini and all of the guys are going to say, set your goals high. If you've never done 50 deals in a year, you're not going to do 50 deals next year. Okay? If you've not done 10 deals, you're not going to do 50 deals because you don't have the capacity to do them. Okay? And what happens is somebody's going to go out there and tell you to do 5,000 homes. You don't have the capacity to do 5,000 homes. Start with 500 homes. Okay? Because you have the capacity to get out and drive through the neighborhood. You have the capacity to get out 500 listings or pieces of paper. You can walk it in 3 or 4 hours. Okay? And you can get it done. You can hire a teenager. Okay? Yeah, to litter it. And you just go knock on the doors that you want to knock on. Okay? Nothing's better than getting stuck at a home and having a 20 or 30-minute conversation with somebody in a farm. Why? You're building relationship. Okay? And in a geographical farm, you're there as a realtor. You're there to ask for business. You're there to talk about kids. You're there to do the things that build relationship. In a people farm, you have to be careful. You have to make a real distinction here. If you're building at church, you're building in Kiwanis, you're building in your band or school or whatever you're in. Doesn't matter. Okay? You cannot go up to people and say, when are you going to list? Who do you know? When are you going to buy? Who do you know? You can't do that to people because you know what happens? They go like this. Okay? And they go, oh, going the other way. We're not talking to Don. You know how I learned that? When I first got into business, I said, when are you going to sell? When are you going to sell? Who do you know? Who do you know? I mean, if you weren't 5 feet of me, I was super aggressive, man, because I broke. Okay? And outside of your spheres, you can be aggressive. And you want to be aggressive. Because every person you put off by being aggressive, you'll get 5 or 6 or 10 more. Okay? And wouldn't you want somebody like me to be working for you and to get the best deals and find the best pieces and net you the most money for your house? And yes, I am a little bit aggressive just because I'm passionate about what I do. Wouldn't you want me on your side as opposed to being against me? I'd say that. Because, you know, I used to get a lot of people that say, whoa, you're really aggressive. Yeah, isn't it great? You know, because people need to know that you're going to work and that you're happy to be in real estate. Are you thrilled to help people buy houses? Are you thrilled to get them moved into something? Are you thrilled to watch their kids grow up and sell them something? After you've been in the business for 30 years, you do parents and you do kids and you do grandkids. And you keep them as clients. My very best friend used to bike with him we're old now, we don't do it as much. We used to bike to Yosemite, and I met him on an up call. He called into the office. I met him at a property. I ended up listing his, and I listed his parents, and I listed his partners, and I listed hundreds and hundreds of properties over the 30 years that I've known him. And it was the relationship that I built with him that allowed me to do it. But my top 10 people I talk to every week. Do you know who your top 10 people are in your database? Because this is the farm, right? You're going to get in your farm if you can say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, how you doing as you're going through? Oh, they're going to go, great, Don, how are you? Those are the types of relationships that you need to start to build in your farm. And once you start to build a relationship, you need to change the conversation. You don't go to Bob and Mary Smith that you started to build a relationship with and say, when are you going to sell? Because you already know they're not going to sell. You're going to say, how are the kids? You're going to change the relationship. When you start off aggressive. You know, we got these properties. When are you going to sell? When's the next property? Blah, 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 blah. And you're doing this, right? The minute they go into, I'm going to talk about the other two in a second, okay? The minute they go into I like, conversation changes because they don't like pushy salespeople. They like friends, and friends like to do business with friends, okay? They like to do business with people they like. So you talk about the things that they like. How long have they lived in the neighborhood? By the way, if you got a good farm thing, then you're going to know because it's going to tell you from your title people. It'll tell them that they've owned the house for 10 years and they've got this kind of loan on the property. And you partner with a lender, and maybe he goes through, and you put out a joint thing to the lender saying 3% interest rates, you ought to refi. Why? Bring value to people. Then you go to the neighborhood businesses, okay? And you're doing all this stuff, and you go to the neighborhood businesses and you say, hey, I have a farm that's just around the corner from you. How'd you like to give a 10% discount if they come and eat in your thing, and I'll pass out 500 flyers for you. And you start to build business to business in the neighborhood. You want to dominate a farm, you get them $10 off at the Pizza Hut around the corner. Or they have, you go into the Home Depot and you get them 10% off of whatever they're going to do and you pass them all out. Or you know, whatever the neighborhoods is, I don't know what's around it, but you go to all of the businesses and you become a resource for these people. And what do you have on it? Your name and your picture. And the business is going to be happy, especially if they're small businesses, to give you. They want the people in the neighborhood to come in, right? And, you know, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's a small business, you know, and you start to build relationships in and around this farm. Why? You're the expert. And you got to become the expert. And you got to know the people. Hey, do you know Joe down at the pizza shop? Yeah, you know, people know people, right? So you start to, and you don't do it all at once. You start with the base. You start touring the properties. You start building the business and thing. You start putting people into I like category. Now let's talk about what the other three categories are. This is all about farm, right? All about what? Database. Database, okay? That's all a farm is, okay? It's about relationship, and people miss the whole concept of building relationship, okay? When I was a band dad, I was the best darn band dad there ever was. If they said I had to be there at 3 in the morning, I was there at 3 in the morning. I got to be president of the band, and I had 5 years of band, okay? And when they needed somebody to sweep and pick up and set up stuff and cook hamburgers and drag things around, who was there? I was there. Now, why did I want to become president of the band? Because I got to talk to 160 parents every month. I got to get in front and say, hi guys, how you doing? This is where we're going, right? I did never once talk about my real estate until I was asked. Because in building relationship, they will naturally ask you, okay? And what happens is, because I was a super good band dad, they assumed I was a super good realtor, okay? And they knew what I did, okay? Difference between a geographical farm and a farm of people, okay? You cannot become that over-exuberant, otherwise they'll send you away. So, within your CRM, whether it's top producer, conversion, Outlook, you know, there's millions of client relation systems out there.
Recommendations?
In our office, we use conversion. Okay, conversion with a K, and it's a behavioral-based database, and you put people in it, sends them out emails, and it sends out paper things. It sends out, if they come on to, Top Producer does this too as well. I'm just talking about ours. If they come on, they're looking at $300,000 homes or $500,000 homes, and it'll send you a text that says, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, they're looking at $500,000 homes. Press 1 and it'll dial it for you. I would put everybody into something that would be behavioral based. So if they change areas, it'll send you a text message that says, hey, they were looking at Willow Glen, now they're looking at Evergreen. Maybe you ought to call them, okay? So you need something that can be interactive and something you, and by the way, if you have a CRM and your office offers it, use the thing. The hardest thing is if you had, sidebar. You know what prospecting is? Okay, anybody know what that is?
Sales funnel.
That's a funnel, okay? Prospecting is putting people in, and what happens is they sit up here and they start working their way down, and they start working, and then they start popping out as buyers and sellers, okay? And what we don't do as people is put people into the funnel. And that's what your CRM does. That's what your mailers do. That's what your emails do. And it gets people down. By the way, if you're working with buyers and sellers and you got a husband up here and a wife down here, you're probably never going to buy because he's going to want to see the next house and she's already made the buying decision, or vice versa. You need to put them in the car by themselves. Well, imagine that. Old school. Put buyers in car. Show them property. Why? Yeah, you can build relationship and ask the right questions. If they're in their own car, you can't.
Yeah.
Okay? So if you can pick them up, do it. Because it gives you 1 hour or 2 hours captive. Mm-hmm. And by the time you're done showing the first properties, you'll know. Okay? If you're meeting them there, you only got 2 or 3 minutes, guys, and you're on to the next one. So if you can pick them up, especially the first time, meet them in the office, meet them at their home, do something, okay? If you want to work out an arrangement and send them stuff through the email or through the MLS system and put them on a drip campaign that sends them all the newest and greatest, go ahead and do that. But I wouldn't suggest it. On my hot buyers, you know what I want to do? I want to call them up and say, hey, we got a new one, before they know about it, and then send it to them. Okay? And I want to alert myself first so I can call them with it. Because what's it do? It gives you an opportunity to be professional and demonstrate your professionalism. Okay? You want to be, just like you want to be the first person in the neighborhood. It's all about putting people in your database and putting them in the funnel and getting them down here and popping out here and you start doing business. You need probably 100 to 200 people in this funnel to start to do any amount of business, at least one a month. Okay? And your database needs to be somewhere around 300 to 500 people. And I never had more than 500 people in my database. That got me 30 to 50 transactions, 30 to 50 transactions, 30 to 50 transactions every single year. Okay? And it's because of the quality of the relationship in the farm or the database or what you're doing that allows you to get that 10% that sends you one. Okay? Those Callaways in the book that I just showed you, the numbers work out for every single person that builds a raving fan. If you're one of these people that, sell them a home and never contact them again, never do anything with them again, how many people, here's a real simple idea. You want a referral? On your next closing, go buy a $20 at Safeway ice chest, fill it with ice and sodas and drinks, and go to Togo's, and the day they're moving, deliver it to them. And pick up the end of the couch and help them move some things in. You know what? They'll talk about you forever because you showed up, and you helped. And don't go there in your suit and be all prim and proper. Go there in your jeans and roll up your shirt and, everybody needs a hand, right? If nothing else, if they don't need a hand, they got professional movers. They'll remember you because everybody has to eat that night because they're unpacking everything and nobody wants to go out or fix something, right? Everybody will eat a sandwich. That'll get you more referrals than anything else.
Pizza, too.
Pizza's good. Pizza's harder. It doesn't keep as well. So let's talk about, we've talked about the farm. Question?
Yes, you mentioned top producer. You mentioned conversion with a K.
Mm-hmm.
Any other one? And can you give us a
Well, like Keller Williams and all the rheology companies, Sotheby's uses Market Leader.
I'm thinking about more independently from.
Okay, so top producer would be a good one. Outlook, if you use it right, would be a good one because it's free. Okay, and you can move into something more any of your companies probably, Antero probably has one, or Coldwell Banker probably has one. I don't know who you all work for, but it's if they don't have a CRM, ACT would be a good one. It's a little more cumbersome.
ACT?
I've never used it, but yes.
Yeah, ACT's very difficult to use.
You know.
Problem is they don't have autoresponders attached to it.
Well, yeah, if you're getting one that's real estate oriented, that will capture the listings and stuff, it's better. Top Producer, things like that. There's 50 of them out there, guys. You know, we use Conversion because Conversion is behavioral based, and every time a client comes in, it tells you what they're doing.
Isn't
Okay.
there other things attached to Conversion, like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Chatty Agent? And
Yeah, and you got all kinds of things, and you do Facebook ads, and they'll do landing pages, and they'll
Do you
do
do all that?
all of it. It's all included in the program. You can do your own advert. You can invest certain amounts of money into paid advertising if you want to do it. There's all kinds of things that you can do in Conversion. It'll work sellers. It'll give you the sellers can come on and do get their automated valuation, AVMs, and
Is that part of Listing Machine?
no, it's
Something different.
Conversion. The reason we went with them is they're the people who started the market leader, and then when they sold it, they had a non-compete clause, and then they started Conversion, and it just happens to have the newest technology. It works with all their smartphones and that kind of thing, and it's what we use. But there's a lot of wonderful programs out there.
Contactually is a very good one.
Yeah.
And it's more.
Which one?
Contactually.
Contact.
Yeah, contactually, and it's web-based and it's designed to work with social media too.
Yeah.
Contactually.
I want to go back to your 10-10-20 conference.
You bet.
I assume you've done this before.
By the way, this and open houses and is how I built my whole business. Okay.
Doing the 40
I
and
assume
open
you
houses.
market it. Does it make any difference what kind of marketing you engage in terms of your experience and what the most effective one after you recommend?
Okay. So if you're doing this, I'll speak to this first, and then I'll answer that. What I did is I went in. We had a hot sheet. I picked it out. I printed it on a piece of paper that had my header and footer on it on the copy machine, and went out. Took me 5 minutes. Okay. Now you can do it in color. You have your picture and your header and all of that right in the MLS. I would not do anything fancy. This is a brand new property, and if you have to go download a picture, you're taking too much time. Okay. It's something in your hand that gives you a reason to go to the door. When it sells, it'll have a picture in it, and you can go down and it'll say make flyer, and you hit that button in the MLS and you print 40 of them. Okay, and the answer is you don't want it to be fancy. You want it to be fast. Okay, because if you take 2 hours to put together the flyer and then take 2 hours to get in your car and go out and knock the door and come back, the day's gone. But if I can hit it in my computer, hit print, and it looks semi-professional as the agent copy would look, okay, and it has your name and your phone number on it, that's what I would do. If you wanted to get really fancy, you might pre-print an advertisement on the back and put that paper in, so you have both sides with something on it. But the key to this is not taking a lot of time. The key is to print, get in car, go, come back. Okay, and if you only see 4 or 5 people, don't worry about it. Okay, because you're going to be there in a week with the pending. And if you hit another 4 or 5 people and you paper the rest, don't worry about it, because you're going to be there in another 20 days with the close, and you're going to be knocking the door again. And what you're looking for is the 3 to 5 people you're adding to your database, and somebody's going to tell you, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith are really thinking about it. That's what you're looking for. And then you go knock on Mr. and Mrs. Smith's door at 6:30 in the evening when they're home and say, hi, my name's Don Jessup, and I was talking with some of your neighbors. They said they were thinking about making a move. I'd love to talk to you about it. And you need to be bold. Okay? If you're not bold here, you won't get anything. But it's about, most importantly, long-term building the database, short-term building immediate income. The biggest problem with most farmers is they get this mindset that I have to be there at 5 o'clock. I have to be there at on the weekend. I have to be there at a certain time. you would be better off being consistent at 10 o'clock in the morning 3 days a week than trying, hitting and missing, trying to do it in the evening on the way home. Okay. Now, with that said, when they're home, when you want it, okay, you know, Saturday mornings after 10 is really a good time. Sunday mornings after 1 in the afternoon. You don't want to go to people's houses while they're at church and things like that because they get a little irritated. In the evenings, you know, especially if you're a farmer, if you want to hold an open house every single night for 2 hours, you can meet most of the neighbors in the neighborhood in a week. Okay? Because what are they going to do? They want to see the house, right? They're going to stop in. And it gives you a reason to be there. And nobody else is doing it. So when you're a farmer, you want to stand out and do things that other people aren't willing to do. Okay? And if you're willing to do the things that the other people aren't willing to do, you'll get noticed. Okay? And the key is to get noticed, and that's why your picture's on everything. Okay? Any other questions before I move forward?
For farm at the knock the door, what do you think of for a new agent? Let's say they've never got any experience, no transactions, they just got a license. Do you suggest them to do the farming at the knock door?
Okay. So,
Definitely, they may get some training about the forms, about the market in the office. But however, they don't have any experience.
okay, so this is what I would suggest for somebody that's brand new in the business, because when I was brand new in the business, this is what I was doing, right? Make your mistakes on real people first, okay? And if you need practice knocking the door, just pick a neighborhood and do one of these, okay? That's not in your farm first, okay? Just any neighborhood. And you go, and the words are simple. We have a new listing in the neighborhood. Do you know anybody who'd like to buy? And you stand there and smile and let them respond, okay? And by the way, how long have you lived in the neighborhood? Oh, great. You know, did you raise your kids here? And you start a conversation. It's the piece that opens the door, okay? You have to have something of value. New listing. It just went pending. It just closed. It's title. So you have to have something of value in your hand. You have to have a reason to be there, okay? The reason to be there may be, I'm the area expert and I just wanted to introduce myself. If you ever need me, let me know. And you walk on, okay? And it's pleasant and it's kind and it's some, you want to be the old shoe, okay? And if you're just passing out a generic piece, is, hey, I'm the expert in the neighborhood. Oh yeah, I've seen your stuff and I saw you driving through the neighborhood. And what are they going to say? What's my house worth? Well, it depends. You know, how many bedrooms and baths and blah, 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 blah. Love to set an appointment tonight, or would now be good to come through and take a look at your house and I'll bring you by the comps or put them in the mail to you or whatever. And you're looking to have real conversations with people. The things that you're passing out are only the starters, guys. Okay? And what we try to be is too slick and professional. You know, you don't need to be slick. You just need to be real. Now, you need to be competent, you need to understand the market, you need to be professional, you need to be educated, you need to know all the stuff. But if I come across too slick, what do people do? You know, and in some markets, in Los Gatos, in Saratoga, you got to match your people a little bit better, so you have to dress like they are. But for the average person, they just want to know that you're real, okay? Even the people in Los Altos who've owned the home for 50 years or 40 years, you know, who built their wealth over time, you know, they're real people. You know, I go to a listing appointment looking like this every single time if it's brand new. Why? I can take the tie off, I can take the jacket off, I can roll up the sleeves, but I can never put more clothes on. Okay? No, I'm serious. Okay? If I go and they are not, people want professionals. They want you to look sharp. They want you to smell sharp. But when you're walking your farm, you can't walk a farm looking like this, okay? As long as you have a nice pair of slacks on and a good shirt, business attire, that's enough, okay? If you have kids that are walking the farm and dropping things off for them, maybe you ought to vest in T-shirts that says the Don Jessup team or the, you know, whatever it is, whatever your name is and whatever you call yourself, whatever you brand yourself. And you shouldn't be branding yourself Silicon Valley Associates, except for the logos and the things like that. You should be branding yourself as whatever your name is, okay? Whatever your team is, because they don't really care who you work for. They care who you are, okay? So, and don't miss, you get all of these people that just, it's grind, 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 grind. The minute you have relationship, you have to change, and this is what people miss. And it becomes relationship. You ask all of those hard questions until you know them, because you would never ask your friend, when are you going to sell? When are you going to move? Who do you know? Okay? And there's a place to do that. If you're in an open house, you're going to be asking people, do you live in the neighborhood? And do you, how many houses have you made offers on? Well, I made offers on 10. And I'm going, you've made 10 offers and you haven't bought a house? And tell me about that, because somebody bought it, And maybe we should take a few minutes to talk about how we become the next winning offer. Because there's a certain process and things that you have to do to win. And as a buyer, you want to win, don't you? So maybe we could sit down for 10 minutes and figure out what you're not doing and what you can to be doing better to write the better offer to win the next one. Gaining an appointment, gaining trust. And then you better have a system, right? Okay. And your brokers and people can tell you what that is. Any other questions about farm before I get into the three?
Yeah, about the farm means that, do you think that it would be wise to knock the door or just like leave the fire on the doormat and do it consistent?
Okay. I would knock on as many doors as I could possibly knock on, but I would make sure I got something on everybody's door. Okay? So don't miss sight that you have to get to everybody all the time. Okay? But if I have one person that wants to talk to me for 20 minutes or 30 minutes, I'm there. I'm talking with them because it's about relationship, and that one person might send me the next deal. Okay? So if I get stuck at one door and I'm building a good relationship and it's all going well, I'll pay for the rest. Okay? And you want to get through, because what happens is you get to the 10 doors and you get tired, right? Okay? And maybe it's your goal to do 20 doors that you knock, okay? And you pay for the rest, okay? And then you knock the next 20 and you pay for the rest. Or the people you're going to see in the neighborhood, these are the doors you're going to knock and you pay for the rest, okay? So when you're meeting, so it's better to have meaningful conversations with people than to rush through the neighborhood, okay? So because what we miss is the deeper the relationship, the better they will be with you in sending their friends. And so in any place that you're at, the old saying is, be interested instead of interesting, okay? Because people don't really care about you. You may think they do, but they really don't, right? And the more that you are interested in other people, you'll convey your interest in caring, which will naturally reciprocate back. But people love to talk about themselves, okay? And they love to hear their own voice, so let them do it, okay? So building relationships. And also break the hand of any family member that doesn't list with you. No, I'm kidding. Any more questions about farm before I get into how you set up the databases?
So you mentioned about maybe as the title company for the say 10% of turnover for those area, right?
Right. Okay.
So do they give us that these are only 10% before that's said on this city or?
Okay. So one of the products that we use, and I apologize for, I only can talk about the ones that I know. And there's a company called Rebo Gateway, and for $39 a month, it'll tell you how many people are divorced in the neighborhood. It'll tell you how many properties to sell, what percentage turnover, how many are non-owners, how many are this, how many are that, demographics. Old Republic has one, Fidelity has one. And you want to identify the turnover rate, guys, because it gives you the immediate income. If there's no turnover in the neighborhood, it would be better to find, you can go by zip code, you can go by neighborhood, you can go by all kinds of things, right? It would be better to have 10 sets of 18 homes in neighborhoods that turn over at 20% than have one neighborhood that turns over at 5. Okay? And then you target market that 18 or 50 or 60 or whatever it is. And all of your stuff goes out to those people about them, because that's really who they want to know about, is them, right? So it would be better to have little pockets of people that turn over at 20% and have a total of 500 than to have one neighborhood that turns over at 5. Does that answer the question?
Sorry, can the title rec tell you the turnover rate for the specific pocket of the area you want to?
So, Jill, Terry, can we tell them? Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Caveat to that or objection that Terry and I can both corroborate. Title company can do that without a cost.
Yeah.
We just couldn't get into specifics of the divorced, it would just be basic turnover rate according to the area that you supply us. Isn't that right, Terry?
It's right, we can get things like empty nesters, net sellers, so who's most likely to sell next, so there are certain things we still can do that's no cost.
Yeah. By the way, if you're not giving escrows to Terry and Jill, they come here support you to learn so they can help serve you better. They're good people in the industry. You got to be giving them both escrows. They're great people. So yes, they can tell you, they can narrow it right down to these 18 homes and tell you how many of them have sold, okay, and what that turnover rate is. I wouldn't work anything, for immediate income because the market is so tight today that didn't have anything less than 10%, more than 10%, excuse me. I'd be working those neighborhoods because if you're not working something that gives you 10%, you're only going to, by the way, it's a myth. You cannot dominate a neighborhood, okay? The very best farmers in the business make about 20 to 25%, the best ones, okay? Get about that in, and there's very few. The average farmer is getting somewhere around 10% if they're good, 15% if they're really good. If they're phenomenal, they're getting more than 20%, okay? It isn't the business that they're getting out of the farm that makes them rich, okay? It's the business that's out here in the database that makes them rich, okay? The listings that you're getting in these 500 farms feeds you and feeds the machine and gets you into the places that you need to get all of these other people, okay? And this is an adjunct to building the database. Any other questions about farm before I get into the 3 databases?
The same question that on the top of your note, that if you find somewhere that, specific the agent in that pocket that you intend to farm that sell more than 3 listings, so should you just move on to other area or just?
Okay, so a good question. Do I go compete against the Angie Cox and the Helen Tans and the different people that are huge farmers, right?
Yeah.
Okay. If I didn't have to, I wouldn't. But understand they're only getting 20, 25% of the business, guys. So there's 75% of the business left. And a lot of the big farmers aren't out there still knocking the doors. They're establishing, they're doing the thing, and they're mailing, and yes, they're good. The hardest thing that you're going to have to do to compete with, let's pick Angie, because she's absolutely stellar in what she does, okay, is she is the expert. She knows everything about that farm. And if you're going to compete with somebody who's big like that, you need to learn to box them up, okay? And you need to learn to tell the seller who they are and why you're different, okay? And so some of the big farmers, and I won't mention people's names because that wouldn't be professional, but some of the big farmers in some of the neighborhoods are listing them at 1.5%, okay, on their side, and listing it 2.5 on the other side. And and if you know who your competition is, you need to be able to go in and say, I know my competition does this. Because if I know I'm up against you, I'm going to figure out who you are and say, this is what you do, okay? And compete against you. So what you need to do is learn to take those people and never put them down, okay, because it's unprofessional. But you can tell them what they do and why you're better, okay? If your brand's making new in the business, okay, your competitive advantage can be you're the only people I'm going to work on. You're going to get the best service there ever was, and my broker who's been in business for 30 years is going to help me. So you need to, you really want to help me, don't you? I mean, that's what I used to say, when I got into business, because I never sold a piece of real estate in my life. I did music before I got into real estate. And so when I was a real estate agent and I was 24 looking 18, I didn't have any business, and I would say that to people. I would say, you're right, I'm brand spanking new in the business, but you're my only deal, and I'm going to work harder on this deal than anybody in the business because you're my only deal. I will make sure that it gets exposed. And when we get an offer, I'm going to pull this guy in. And you know who he is? He's been in the business for 20 years, and he can help me get it done. And I will make sure you get the highest and best price, and he's going to tell me how to do it. Rely on your office we do so many of this or so much of that. Rely on people that you're working with and borrow from their experience. But if you don't know what you're going to say when you get in there, somebody else is going to say something different and set the bar. So what you need to do is get off of the age thing and set the bar on what you need to do and how you need to do it and be more professional and those types of things when you actually get into it. Any other questions about the farm itself? Have I covered it pretty well?
Yep.
You know, it's one of those things, takes dedication. It will pay super high dividends if you're dedicated to do it. Almost all of the people making over $1 million in our industry are terrific farmers of one kind or another. Whether it's people farms, whether it's geographical farms, whether it's the Kate Davies out in Silver Creek, who makes over $1 million a year, you know. It's the people in the business that if you are consistent with your farms and you're consistent with your databases that make the big money. And the other thing that's really important to know, you know what's consistently important about them, is they invest in their business. They put money into their business. And they just don't do it willy-nilly. They don't go buying every product known to man. They figure out what their budget is and how they can best spend their budget. Start off very, very conservatively when you're getting started. Don't go broke, okay? So if it has to be black and white and it has to be off a copy machine, you know, maybe you go out and spend, you know, $10 on a ream of paper so it feels a little nicer or whatever it is. But, you know, the key is to make sure that you're investing in the neighborhood and in your farm. Any other questions about farm? Because I'm going to talk, I got 20 minutes to talk about the database. Because I think we've established that a farm is what?
Database.
A database, okay? And if you do all of the stuff that we've talked about, you will be successful in your farm, okay? But there's 3 databases that you need to keep. And what people miss is they think that they have to contact all 400 people every single month, personally. You don't. But you do need to contact them every month. Maybe even every 2 weeks. Maybe it's email, maybe it's, you know, let's talk about the 3 areas. So you have 1, 2, 3. And that is, again, as exciting as it gets for me when I'm doing my drawings. And the first one is all, okay? All the people you know go into a database. And so if you have 400 people, 500 people, 1,000 people, whatever it is, you have one database that is all, okay? And in that database, it doesn't matter whether they're sellers, they're buyers, they're in your church, they're in your Kiwanis or Rotary or whatever you do, you're in an Italian club or I don't know, whatever you do, okay? All of the people that you know, everybody that you know, you don't discriminate, okay? You're putting together a wedding list. Everybody that you might invite to a wedding is on that list. And the biggest mistake people make in the overall database is they say, oh, they'll never send me anybody, or oh, they don't like me, or oh, they just don't know you as a realtor yet, okay? And what you need to do is demonstrate to those people evidences of success. And every time you do something in the business, an open house, you list a property, you put a buyer into a property, you send it to all, you know? And if it's an email, if it's on your Facebook, if it's on your LinkedIn, you have to demonstrate that you're busy in the business. You have to have evidences of success to the people that you know that don't know you as a realtor, or maybe they know you as a realtor but haven't heard from you from a long time, that you're active in the business. Because what happens is we don't tell people that we're doing business things. We don't tell people that we just, you know, we just advertise this property. Or by the way, I don't have any listings. What do? 5 best properties in Willow Glen, 5 best properties in Cambrian, 5 best properties, and you put it out to people. You have to demonstrate that you're active in the business and you're doing something. Whether it's your listing or not, it doesn't matter, okay? You have to be putting thing to everybody. Everybody in this list, by the way, is in this list, Okay? That's your base list. Everybody is in that list. Okay? And the biggest thing about database management is proving to people that you're active in the business. Because, especially if you're new, because they know you as engineer, they know you as high tech, they know you as whatever you were. They knew me as musician, traveling 250 days a year all over the world, never being around knowing anybody. Okay, and I was so green in the business. Doug Tobin and Steve Hanley and a few Rich Crowleys and people like that you guys probably don't know that have been in the business longer than me went, really? You know, because I didn't know anything. I knew how to sing. Okay, and I sang German and Latin and Italian, and I sang arias and did all kinds of wonderful things. But I didn't know anything about real estate. You know, and I was gone 250 days a year, so I didn't have a base. You know? And so when I got into business, I had to start from scratch. That's how we did it. Okay, and you start adding everybody you know indiscriminately. You can pick and choose later. Okay, because they need to see that you're active in the business. We've talked about this one. These are the people that you like and like you. Okay, the middle one, number 2. Okay, the second database. And it can be a subchapter in the database system. It doesn't have to be a new system. Just you know what hashtags are? They can be hashtag people I like, hashtag sellers, hashtag buyers, hashtag you know farm number 2, hashtag farm number 53, depending on what you're doing. It could be hashtag school. It could be, and they can have multiple categories. That's all a hashtag is, by the way, is a category. You know, you can have friends and family and business associates, and you put everybody and you categorize them in your database management system. Why? Because I want to send things to the people I like. And in my group, I had my music group, which I was in San Francisco for, and I was at the Fairmont Hotel in Black Tie doing Italian and German and Latin and all of this stuff, right? And then I had Gary, my best friend, owned a sheet metal shop, okay? And then I had my choir out at the villages, okay? You don't send the same things to sheet metal people that you send to the San Francisco Pacific Music Society, or the church, or to Kiwanis, or to whatever group you're in. So you have to categorize them, and you start to manage the people as you know them. I would send them not necessarily industry things on a regular basis. Sheet metal people would get one kind of joke. The church people would get another kind of joke. Okay, and you have to know the difference. Okay, and you have to send political things out to people who will enjoy them. So you have to know the people here intimately, because you don't want to send them something that offends them. Okay. And you want to send the people that are dog lovers dog things, okay? Because you're building relationship with them. And these are the people that you just like, and you know what? You would invite them to your home. They're people that you would like to spend time with, but they're not quite that good of friends yet, okay? And then you have your top 50. Maybe it's 60, but top 50, okay? Who are the top 50? They're going to send you 70% of your business, the top 50 are, okay? And you need to get your top 50. They're the ones that you're going to to kids' functions when they have a recital or they're graduating from grade school or junior high or high school or college. They're the ones that you talk to, the top 10 of this 50 you talk to on a weekly basis. You know, I talked to Gary, who I got on an up call. I talk to him on a daily basis, you know, and he sends me a lot of business. Okay? These are the people that you spend the most money on. These are the people that you're sending gifts to, you're buying lunches for, you're going out to drinks with, you're intimately acquainted with these top 50 people. Okay? And who do you work on first? This one. Okay? Because they're the people that are going to be sending you business. Okay? And they're the people that, my Kiwanis group. Okay? We do things for children, and we do, I'm in a bunny suit for Easter eggs and things like that at Easter time. And we're doing turnaround scholarships for high school kids and doing all kinds of things. That group, I lead the group on a weekly basis. I'm the president of the club. Why am I the president of the club? I want to be in front of them. I want to talk to them. I need to demonstrate that I'm good at what I do so they think I'm good in real estate. Whether or not I am, they think I am. Okay? But they get different things than the fishing group. Okay? The fishing group gets pictures of fish. They get pictures of Cabo. They get pictures of, different things that we're doing. They get the things that matter to them. And I'm sending out 50. I'm sending out 5. I'm sending out 10. And what am I doing? Building relationship. Being top of mind. Being top of mind. Being top of mind. Because when they think of real estate, who are they going to think of? They're going to think of Don. Now, what's the very worst thing that you can do if you join a service group? Not show up. Yeah. Not do anything. Because they're full of people that don't do anything. Join something you have a passion for. For 16 years, I've supported an orphanage in St. Petersburg, Russia. We have about 28, 29 kids right at the moment, all AIDS babies. And 16 years ago, they came to us and said, how would you like to take over the organization? Okay, and my voice teacher and I had been traveling in Russia doing Russian music since 1986. And so we made a decision that these babies were lying in cribs and dying, right? You saw all the 60 Minutes and the 2020 things where babies were sitting and they just dropped them off at the orphanage as infants. That's how we get our babies. But we raise $100,000 a year for babies in Russia. Okay? Now, what's the benefit to having a passion like that? I know people who give $100,000 a year to babies. What do they have? Money. And my passion becomes business. My passion becomes the next client. And I am passionate about having 6 caregivers in a Norwegian company that provides the medicine and that we can go over and visit them. I'm passionate about it. People know I'm passionate about it. They know I do a good job with it. They know I work at it. What do they assume? I'm a good realtor. Okay? They don't know, but they assume it.
Yeah, you said like with your band group, you didn't talk business with the band group, but you must have had them on one of your databases, or just certain.
Okay, no. So what happens?
Huh?
I go, what's your name?
Bill.
Bill. Hey, Bill, what do you do for a living? We're in the same, I'm a band, right? We're working side by side. I'm going, hey, Bill, what do you do for a living? Oh, great. Yeah, that's fascinating. Tell me about how you got into that. And blah, 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 blah. And we're picking up things, and we're setting up things, and we're picking up trash, or we're doing whatever it is, and we're walking out, and we're bringing things onto the field. And what does he do? Well, Don, what do you do? Well, I do real estate. And I stop. I make him ask the next question. Okay, because I don't want to become a salesperson at that time. I'm not there to be a salesperson. And he says, well, what's my house worth? Biggest mistake most people make in a database situation is they tell them. Okay? Worst thing that you can do in a social situation like that. You go, Bill, we're here for the kids today. I make my living doing that. I'd love to talk to you more about your house and outside of this situation and make an appointment with you so I can do a professional job to let you know what your house is really worth. Can we kind of table that for today? I do real estate. And it's not that if I have time to talk more about it, I will, but I table it so I can go. I'm a band dad here. Now I'm going to step into being a realtor, and I'm going to meet them at their home, and it depends on what your house is. Is it 3 bedrooms? Is it 1,500 square feet? What neighborhoods it's in? I have to do a little bit of research before I can actually tell you. I'll give you another example. I used to send out the newsletter. What did it have at the bottom of the newsletter? No, my name and phone number, so if they needed to contact somebody about the band, they could call me. Okay? So every single month, they got a newsletter with my name on it. Okay, I'm part of the BJ meeting, broker tour, right? I took over the mailing list for the BJ meeting. Why did I do that? No, because my name goes at the bottom of every single one, and I'm out recruiting every agent I can recruit, right? Okay, so I want people to see my name. Okay, so the way I do it as an owner is I need to get exposure. Why am I willing to be a board of directors here at SCCAOR? One, I'm honored because it's the who's who of real estate, and I just kind of go, wow, they let me be a part, okay? And you're humble about it, but why do I want to do that? So I can speak to you guys. Okay, let's be honest. I mean, my recruiting now isn't buyers and sellers. My recruiting are agents, okay? So I do the same thing, only in a different manner. So as an agent, you're demonstrating your professionalism to other people, okay? So it's one of those things you have to get in front of the right groups. So getting in front of, you go to church, okay, let's talk about church. Okay, a lot of people are religious, right? I don't care if you're religious or not. It doesn't matter whether you go to a mosque or what religion it is. My grandfather started a Bible college, okay? And it's now William Jessup University in Rockland. And we've been in San Jose since 1939, right? But if you go to church and you don't participate, what are church people going to do? They're not going to use you. But if you go to church and you participate in that church, or you're a Rotarian, you participate as a Rotarian, the best you can participate, then they will use you because they'll assume that you're good at what you do. The very worst thing you can do is join a group and never participate. And it's a database. You know, the reason Montavo was a good place for me is because I love the music. I was going to go anyway, okay? And when I got there, we didn't talk about real estate unless they asked. You know what we talked about? We talked about the entertainer. We talked about the people who were singing. We talked about the jazz. We had common interests, and I could be passionate about it. Does that help? You know, because where's your money made? Okay? You may talk to these people once or twice a week, you know, a minimum once a month. You may talk to these people, you know, and send something out to them personally once a quarter. You know, you're sending something out. You're still doing the general mailers and the general information, that type of thing. But with these people, you may never talk to them. They may just get the things. And then as they warm up, they move to here. And then as they warm up, they move to here. But you never lose focus, and 80% of your time should be spent here, and about 15% of your time here and about 5% here. But you need this to have enough people to pull from to get to here to get to here. Otherwise, you'll never get the referral base that'll send you good and bad business and good and bad markets. Questions about database? I got 5 minutes. Have I bored you? No? Okay, so these are the top 10 of these people I talk to daily, weekly. The top 20 I'm talking to at least weekly. The top 40 I'm talking to monthly. And I'm sending them jokes because I know them personally. I'm sending them information that relates to them. If they're in the Kiwanis, I'm sending them things that are in Kiwanis. If I'm sending them things about the babies, I'm sending them things about their life or business or school or whatever it is. But I know these people, it's individual. Okay? Because if you don't do individual things and they start feeling like the masses, you're not building a relationship.
When you say you talk to them daily, do you mean sending a joke as a talking or actually physically?
Well, okay, so the answer is some people you're going to communicate. This is the worst thing for sales that there ever was, okay? People know that you care if you talk to them in person. Now, in that advent and in saying that, am I going to text people? Absolutely, I'm going to text people. Am I going to say hi to them on Facebook and Twitter and that type of thing? I'm not. Heidi is. But I'm not good on the computer. If you're not good on the computer, get somebody who is. Okay, if you're not good on Facebook, get somebody who is. But the most important thing that you can do is talk to people. You're going to do the emails, yes. You're going to do that kind of communication, and yes, it's an effective way. But if you miss the face-to-face contact, you'll miss the business. And the top 50 people in your life, it doesn't take that much time. If you call 5 people a day, you get through them in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks of your business. Any other questions about database?
I have a question.
Was it good? Yeah.
If you don't have time to talk with them face to face, is it advisable to send them notes, like written notes?
Okay.
instead of-
Well, let's talk about handwritten
Can you
notes.
repeat the question, please?
Okay. So if you don't have time to talk to them personally, should you send them notes? The most underutilized tool in our business, next to talking to people, is handwritten notes. Why? It's a must open. Because in your life, if you get a small square envelope that is hand addressed to you, you will open it. Okay? And you will look inside. And you will. Don't you feel good when somebody sends you a card? I mean, I don't care who it is. Okay? If you take the time to send a handwritten note that just, thank you, it was good to see you on Friday looking at property, look forward to seeing you next week. You know, or thank you for the bottle of wine, you know, if we can, or whatever it is. Handwritten notes, absolutely one of the most powerful tools you can use in database. And I'm glad you brought it up. So, any other last questions? Come get a book, dream big, go sell real estate. Thank you for coming.